So today I want to talk to you about if you're somebody who identifies with self-sabotage, or you make progress on a goal, you start to do things differently. You say you want to change. I was kind of a personal development junkie, so I would like get excited about a concept, a book, Joe Dispenza, Atomic Habits. I'm like looking at my bookshelf here, all the things, and you're like, yes, like I'd get like lit up by it, and I would maybe start doing the things, or a lot of the time I would just like read about it, because when you identify like a lot, if you're somebody who overthinks, overanalyzes, like may highly intelligent, that you're high achieving, like ambitious, and you know how to problem solve, and like your mind is constantly going. But I have learned that when it comes to like what we really want in life, like our soul desires, and like, just living a life where we feel the way we want to feel, not just have the things that we want to have in, like in the physical, like success, money, the body, the relationship, the house, the bag, the clothes, like whatever it is, but you actually just want to feel amazing. Like that, though you don't have to depend on external things to wake up and actually just feel peaceful, and like I'm actually excited for my day, but like I'm serenely satisfied and confident. Like not even this, like it used to be like, you know, I need all this success and get this kind of high. And then there's like the low of like nothing's ever enough, or something would go wrong, or, just not being able to hold the feeling of success and peace and happiness and joy. But so I have talked about in a couple of videos about how literally all we have to do, and believe me, I know there's the other part of you, this self-sabotager, the perfectionist, overachiever, people pleaser, the victim, the all these parts that stop you doing that, that make you think that that is not a thing, that you can't be in that frequency of how you want to feel all the time. But that is, those parts are literally designed to make you think that. They're doing their job by making you believe that that's not possible, because it is possible. And also, we have to experience the contrast of those feelings to really appreciate them. So we are going to experience like contrast, and those parts are going to come up. And I wanted to explain a concept today that hopefully will help you stop getting in your own way, because that's what I would do. I would, be excited by a concept, learned about mindset, learned about energetics, learned about behavior change, learn psychology, whatever it is, to like manifestation, to help you actually do the thing you want to do. And then it would just never be enough. It like didn't work. It wasn't doing it properly. Maybe I'm not doing it properly, or something would get in the way. Like, oh, like now I'm experiencing contrast, so like obviously it's not meant for me, and things like that. And that kind of talk is literally the old frequency, and we have to be aware of that. And that's why I teach like nervous system regulation. I teach the different states, and it actually becomes laughable when you become so familiar with these states, that when you start thinking or speaking like it, or like doing things that you do in that state, when you basically do mindful things and meditate, you become more familiar with yourself. So it's like, I see it like it's like you're sitting and watching you do that thing. And because you can't fight low frequency with low frequency, like you have to transmute it. I'm like, oh, Michelle, we're doing the thing. We're in fight or flight right now. Like, here we go. Not in the here we go again, but it's like, I see you, I see what's happening right now. Because if I was in the higher frequency, I wouldn't even be having these thoughts. I wouldn't even be thinking like this. I wouldn't even be doing these numbing out behaviors, these avoidance behaviors like doom scrolling. I know I'm slipping when I'm scrolling more, when I start eating, when I'm higher frequency, like when I'm in that frequency, I find it really easy to eat in a way that makes me feel good and still enjoy like treats. But so when you become familiar with these states and also observe yourself when you are in that frequency that you want to be in and like what you do and what you think, you'll soon know when you've like slipped out of it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just an opportunity for you to transmute and like integrate that energy. And I just want to explain like a concept that may help you see these parts from your past that may be trying to sabotage the present, but knowing that you are, again, the master of yourself, like you ultimately have the last say. So when we let these parts take us over and we like let the child take the wheel, the inner child who is in victim mindset or self-saboteur, which is always like a protection thing, remember, but like it's not helpful. Like we don't need it, and that's what we need to say. We need to be like, I see you, like I know we had to use this protection mechanism in the past to keep us safe, but actually now I've got this. I can take control and I'll still be there for you. Because this is the thing, is we might try something new. We might want to leave the job or the relationship, or even smaller things like start on our fitness journey. And we're like, right, we're going to do this thing. And then that part comes up and it's like, for some reason or other, this isn't safe. Because say you have the body of your dreams, like, I don't want to be seen. This is taking too much energy and we need to survive and conserve our energy. There's the leaving the job, and there's if you go to an interview and you don't get the first job that you wanted, if you let it take over, you see, this is what happens. Like, it's not possible for us. We just have to stay in the job we have, even if we're not happy, and things like that. It will say that. And if you agree, then you're feeding that energy. You're feeding that old past version of yourself. Whereas if you can be like, no, I trust myself. I trust that life is meant to be better. And I'm kind of following like my intuition and the steps, and we're going there and we're doing this and we'll be okay. And no matter what happens, I'll still be in my own corner, because this is the thing, is like, I used to beat myself. I used to be we're always our worst inner critic and the one who abandons ourselves when things aren't going our way. Like, stop eating properly, or like that, you're on the weight loss plan and it's not happening quick enough, you start doing like crazy things to lose the weight, or else you just give up on yourself. And each time you like abandon yourself in the now, you're like feeding that old disempowered version of yourself. He said, see, I told you we couldn't do it. So I'm just going to show you like a visual that I've been kind of seeing in my mind when I think about these things. And it just helps you when we're healing and we decide, no, we want better and I want to be this person. Just remember, that's just a decision. And if you can make the decision without going through 10 steps, then that's great. And sometimes it's just about like nourishing yourself. I've been neglecting, my basic needs, and I just need to eat better and move my body and rest and look after myself. And then I get back on that frequency that I want, of peace, love, joy, success, courage, abundance, whatever it is, however you want to feel. And then you're back there. And then just sometimes this is what in my journey kept me stuck for so long, because I thought when this part came up that I needed to like dig into my past again. This was actually a self-sabotaging pattern, because I thought I needed to like dig into the past. I needed to understand why this is happening. I need to write 1,000 affirmations of the opposite, like flip my beliefs in like a notebook, and oh, I'm feeling this way again, so now I need to rest again, because I'm going to burn out. That was like also a fear. I don't know what I was saying. I've been like interrupted about 3 or 4 times during this one, but we're going to get to the crux of it now. So I'm going to show you a visual. So we'll just say, okay, here's you. Make that big enough so you can see it. So all there ever is, again, I just need to, I hope you've watched some other videos, but everything is energy. We like mostly energy, I should say. Was it 99.9 or something like that? So everything has to happen in energy first, but also there, all we ever have is the present moment. And it is in the present moment that we decide like how we want to feel, how we want to think, what we're going to create. Like basically what we're thinking, feeling, visualizing, and who we're being in the moment is creating our future. But there is also the past versions of ourselves doesn't exist, but they exist in our energy field, like in every moment before. They kind of leave like this energetic trail. It's like I say the past is like a shadow, but it's not real. But we, when we're like programmed from the ages of like 2 to 6 or 10 or whatever, that creates like a big imprint in like who we think we are. And if we're not shown different, if we're not taught different, if we don't learn how to reprogram ourselves from what we were taught, like basically in those younger years, we will just continue to play out those patterns throughout the rest of our lives and not question it. And we need to question it. We need to become aware. And it's kind of like you're keep doing something and then you're like, why do I do this? Why do I do this? And it's because like your mom did it and her grandmother did it. And there was a story and it's like asking, or there's like a story and the mom, somebody cuts off like the 2 ends of the ham and the husband asks, why do you do that? And she's like, because my mom did it. And then she rang her mom. She's like, wait, why did you cut off the 2 ends of the ham to cook it? And she's like, because that's what my grandmother did. And they rang the grandmother and they're like, why did you cut off the 2 ends of the ham? And she was like, oh, because it wouldn't fit in my pan. And it was just never questioned. It was just like the done thing and passed along. And the same thing is like whatever we picked up back then, if we haven't questioned it, if we haven't gathered evidence or observed something different, then we will just assume that to be true for us. It's like our parents' money story, how they related to themselves and to others, how they felt about work, how they felt about their body, how they felt about like food and things like that. And there's so much information now that like it is a time where you can change. Even if you had a bad relationship with food, there was just so much information out there that you can actually change it. But it's not just about taking in the information. You actually have to like integrate it and embody it and become that person. It's like it's not just going to eat healthy now. It's like I am a person who's healthy and then letting that flow from that. But we have like the present moment, and in our past are all these versions of us. They all energetically exist within our energy field. And for most of these, you can think of like every second, every moment of past you, like all the way down to like when you were born and energetically, like maybe before that, but we won't go into that. But there's all these past versions. And when they're integrated, i.e., that past version of you aligns with you now, like they kind of thought the way you thought and felt the way you felt and believed, had the identity of who you are. They're kind of like integrated, really. There's no, but what happens is in the past we have, big T and small t trauma. So that can happen through an experience where there's a large energetic charge. So there was a large like emotional feeling. So these are like big traumas, when you're in a car crash, or even when you're younger, even if it's how you perceive the event. It's not really what happened to you, it's what happened, as Gabor Mate says, it's what happened inside of you as a result of it. So if you were a really sensitive child and you were in an environment, of really big personalities and maybe a lot of anger and stuff, like that can be a big T trauma for you. And then there's just some kids and just doesn't really phase them. Like if somebody shouts at them, it's like it just doesn't even like register. And then there's kids, who would like cry straight away. So what's happened in that kid's body is like a lot different to what, and will play out differently. But basically, say these are the integrated, but when there's a big emotional charge in something, or something happened, we stood up in class and we said something and then people laughed at us, and then we're just like, oh my God, I have to be so careful of what I say. It's not safe for me to like speak out loud and things like that. Or, also not just a big emotional charge, but sometimes repetitive things that happen. So this can be like a lack of emotional validation when you were younger. And these may not have big instances, but if it was consistent that your emotions just weren't allowed, you weren't allowed to feel them, they were like not validated, played down, you were called dramatic and stuff, and you learn to like suppress those feelings, even though they mightn't have been big events, but that adds up to this energy body, like this person, right? And they're when it creates a big charge, or like I said, a kind of a what's called in the book Living Untethered is like the samskara, which is like an energetic wound. So our energy is meant to flow freely. And when we have these traumas or these like repetitive mini ones, they create like blockages in our energy field. And these blockages are unintegrated. So they kind of don't always align with what you want, because they experienced like trauma or something that made them feel not safe, not loved, not wanted. And they hang on in your body, and they pop up when you encounter a situation that looks like that in the past, even though it might have nothing to do with it. And you're like, I'm a grown woman now. Like, why can't I get control of myself? And it's because when they're unintegrated, they kind of have their own persona. Okay. So we'll just say all the red ones are kind of just integrated, it's just us, all past energetic versions of self, but nothing really traumatic happened. There isn't big like energy, or there was no like protection like needed. But then there's the ones, so there's the one where it's like, if you were in a household and people were like shouty, or when you spoke up, it was like you'd be like criticized or given out to and stuff like that. So there may have been the one who, it's like the fear of being seen, because when you were quiet and you were like the good girl and you just kind of kept quiet and out of the way, then nobody could like criticize you or give out to you and things like that. And now you're an adult and you kind of like have like your soul kind of wants to public speak and you just can't. Like the anxiety, this part will keep coming up. It's like, no, that's not safe. Or you'll try do it and then something bad will happen because this part is unintegrated. So you still have that energy of like, I don't want to be seen. So when you try to be seen, you will either, like I said, feel like your body will just be like, it's a no, and you'll freeze or go into fight or flight and get anxiety, self-sabotage, or you'll manifest like something in the external where it didn't go well, and then that confirms your belief of, okay, I just shouldn't do this because it's not safe. And when you do that, you make you make this guy get stronger. Okay, these guys aren't bad. That's a muscle, by the way. They're not bad. They're all of them are trying to protect you. The negative critic, the the one that just wants to like hide and like rot in bed and gets depressed, that's trying to keep you safe. All of these parts come up because of safety. But the thing is, it's like misaligned. It's like you don't need that sort of safety. You want to like live your highest version. You want to like expand and grow and experience what you came here to experience in life and not stay stuck. Because when you make these stronger, you're just looping the past. You're making it stronger and you're confirming, yes, it's not safe for me to do that. You were correct. You were correct, little child, but we're the adult. And when the reason we practice like mindfulness and nervous system regulation and meditation is because we get to feel what it feels like to be like in our center, to feel like supported. And basically it's like connecting with like something higher that makes us feel like supported to actually do these things. And when you're in that like serene, peaceful feeling and you think about the thing you want, if that just lights you up when you're in that calmness, that is meant for you. But when we are in these parts and when we're in like lower vibration, when we think of that thing, we'll get like, I don't want to do it. But if you can like meditate and then feel into it and it feels right, then that is the way. And then we have to learn to, so if these guys keep coming up, so we've got like the fear of being seen, and then something else. I'm trying to think of something else. Fear of being seen, like heard, the perfectionist, at this age you made a mistake, or you would make little mistakes as a child, as they do, and you got really, really like criticized for it or given out to and things like that, then you will become like a perfectionist who thinks it is not safe to make mistakes. So therefore, like, not only do you put loads of pressure on yourself and become like a perfectionist and thing, but you actually won't do things where you could fail or that you're not the best at it. You will like cut yourself off from experiences and joy and play and like trying things out because you won't be the best. So again, that's going to feel really constricting. That just shows where you're not free in your life. So you will decide, I actually don't like my job and I want to do a new job, but I'll be the small fish in a big pond. And actually, I don't want to be that because I'm like top of my game over here, even though it's making me miserable and I hate it. But like I've worked this hard to get here. And if I do something else, then I'm going to be like a beginner again and I'm going to be shit at it. And I actually like it might bring me loads of joy in the end, but it's like this fear of like not wanting to start over, not wanting to be a beginner, not wanting to make mistakes. And again, you can see how that will make you like cut off joy from your life because you won't try new things, or you're have like a fear of the unknown because you don't know if you can succeed in the unknown. So we see this person and then they make like the perfectionist tendency. So, and then if you're doing something and you know it won't be perfect or you're trying to make it perfect, you go into like freeze and things like that, and fight or flight. And this happened to me when I was like doing this and I was trying to make content, and I would I would sit down at the laptop and I'd be like, and I have like so many ideas, like so many things to say, which I would easily do in conversation with someone. But the minute it was like, okay, I've got to make something, it was like I would freeze. I was also really good at art, like in school. And obviously something happened along the way and I stopped doing it because it was just not perfect because I wasn't the best. And this was unconscious. This wasn't conscious. But I realize now I stopped doing that, even though it brought me like joy. And I would do the same thing with content. Is like, if I'd sit down to like paint or draw or make something, I'd like I'd be like, I don't know what to paint, I don't know what to do, I don't know what, and you get in your head. You get in your head when what we should be doing is like connecting back in with ourselves, and connecting back in, when I say with ourselves, with that higher frequency. And the trick is that the ones that shout the loudest in the past versions of ourselves, the ones that take us over and take over our nervous system and stop us actually doing the things that we want to do, and put us into like freeze and anxiety and overwhelm, and eventually shut down. Like if you're like burnt out, and if you've kept trying to go and they're like coming up, is what I didn't know is you have to integrate them. And you can't integrate them if you're resisting them, if you're pushing it down, or you're feeding them. If they're like, no, it won't work, you can't do this, you're not good enough, and we agree. And how we agree is like that we let those thoughts, we just let them loop and loop, and cry about them. You imagine you as a little child talking to you like that. When you actually visualize it as the past version of yourself, like, how can you not have actual compassion for them and realize like this fear that's coming up has nothing to do with right now? It's all to do with something that happened in the past. And the reason we feel these feelings of like unalignment and overwhelm and fear and anxiety is because that part isn't in alignment with what we want now. So there's this like separation, and they're there, and we need to integrate them into the whole. So we've got like this amount of energy, and they're like separated. I look at it like, a piece of wood, and if you splinter off some of the woods, the splinters are like, an emotional event happened, a traumatic event, and that kind of splintered off, somewhere where you weren't safe, and that splintered off. And what we want is for them to come back into the stick. We are the stick, we are like the whole stick, and these parts are unaligned or unintegrated, and we can't fight with ourselves. So if you push the stick away more, it becomes more like unaligned. It becomes more of a problem. It's not like, it's still not in alignment. So when we try and push it, or we get angry with it, it's like that's just another part getting angry with ourselves, who's a child from the past, and we're fighting ourselves, when really, when we love on ourselves, which sounds, I know when I learned this, I was like, what the fuck? Like, oh, if I just love myself. No, really, as in, you need to see these parts. Firstly, the first step is like awareness, because you won't recognize that you're actually in these states. So learning about the different nervous system states, learning about different like archetypes of like what could be going on with you, like dominant ones. Like I had like freeze, I had self-sabotage, the perfectionist, the overachiever. Like we probably have all like bits of them, but you'll have like dominant ones. And getting to recognize those, so that you can recognize when you're not in alignment. You're like, okay, I'm trying to do this in my life. I have decided I have this vision, and this is who I want to be, and this is how I want to think, and this is how I want to feel, and this is what I want to do. Okay, but right now I'm like not doing those things. So what part is like coming up? And also, it doesn't really matter. I did things where like I tried to like dissect it all and stuff like that. Really, it's a relationship with yourself. And it's like having a conversation. It's like, oh, I see you're scared to do this, and I see you, and I know why you're scared. I can see that from past things that have happened. But now I'm an adult. I have worked on myself. I eat well. I look after us now. If you're not doing that, you should probably start doing that. And I've got us. And I'm not going to turn it against you if this all goes to shit. And if in 3 months, I don't reach my body goals, that's okay. Like, I'm not going to absolutely condemn myself or give up on us again. This is like the conversation, I know, mental, but like what you need to be having with yourself is like basically what you would have wanted somebody to say to you when you were that person, or even now. Like, what would you like your most loving, like understanding friend, what would they say to you? And say that to that part. and then see how you feel. The more you do that, they become integrated. They start to come back in. And what does integrated mean? It's integrated into alignment with what you want now, with who you want to be. So you don't have all these like odd ends trying to go in different directions and sabotaging. And of course, if you're trying to move here and they're pulling you here, there, you're not going to get very far. And this is where people feel like they are stuck or looping in life, when all these parts are getting like a say and you're listening to them. You're like, it's not about listening because you can hear them, but it's like you're actually like going along with what they want. It's kind of like letting your child drive the car. You feel like, it's okay, I've got you, I can drive the car. Like, I know you're nervous or I know you're scared, and it's okay. Like, but we're going to do it, and it's going to be so much better when we get there. But you have to trust me, and I have to trust me. So I hope that helped. I think I'm going to evolve my drawings, but just remember that when you fight these parts with the same energy that like you don't want to feel, you make them stronger. So you have to not fight them, but you have to love on them. You have to show them compassion, grace, peace, like show them what peace looks like, show them what abundance looks like, whatever it is that you want to feel. That's what you want to give these parts. And you will notice the more you do this, the more integrated they become. And then you feel more aligned. You feel like, I'm actually able to do the things I want to do. I'm able to go to the gym. And yeah, there's a little bit of resistance, but it's not like stopping me in my tracks. I want to eat well. And I'm not like sabotaging as much because I've had a chat with myself. And I want them to know that like, this is safe. This is safe to do. And it's safe to use energy to spend time like making food to nourish myself and things like that. And it is safe to, if I'm not happy, it is safe to change. It is safe to go into the unknown. And the one thing is, nervous system regulation and learning how to soothe your nervous system is like a non-negotiable in this, because the more dysregulated your nervous system is, the more easier it is for these to take the wheel and you not to have control. So looking after yourself and doing the things that you know make you feel good and make you feel like you need to be doing those little things. And then that just allows you to take more steps, like bigger steps towards like your big visions and your big goals without these guys taking the wheel. And eventually you become so like aware of what they look like when they come up. It's just like that. It's like a conversation in your head. And of course, all these people, all these past versions of you, they all come with their own like sets of feelings. Yeah. So nervous system regulation and all of these past versions of self, basically, that can like energetically take you over when you experience something that looks like where they were developed from the past. The situation, the experience, anything that reminds you of that is where like it will come up and like take over your body. But the more regulated you are, the more you like meditate. I'm saying meditative, but it's like the more mindful you are and aware, the more you can like see it play out, and you can take the wheel back from your inner child. But one thing that used to keep me silent is like their emotions also take over you. So emotional processing Sean Connery processing and emotional intelligence, like learning like what are emotions and like how to process them is like a must, because this, when it comes up, you have to look at this like, oh no, here it goes again, or self-sabotage. You have to look at it as actually an opportunity. It's like, this is coming to the surface, so now I can like transmute it. I can change this so that it loses energetic charge and becomes integrated and aligned with what I actually want right now in my life, the vision that I have and thoughts. Whereas when you let it take you over and you believe it, you start thinking that way, as your past self. Sometimes you can kind of act like that teenager. You can kind of be like, I can see I'm actually acting as a child here. And it's because they're rearing up as a protection mechanism. And you are instead believing what they think, what they feel, what they have experienced, but that's the past. And we're creating the new. And we don't know what's going to happen in the new. But what we do is when these parts take us over, we project our past into our future. And then we're like, same shit, different day. And this is how that happens. So you have to remain sovereign and aligned with what you want and get so clear on who you want to be and what you want that the minute you come off that, you recognize it straight away. And then you can use nervous system regulation, emotional processing, or just anything you know about frequency first, like doing the things that like light you up, doing the things that nourish you to bring you back into the feelings that you want to feel. So I hope that was helpful. And if you want me to go into any more of this, but basically when I work with people, a lot of it is just overcoming this, the resistance, the self-sabotage. It's not actually self-sabotage. It's just like an old version of you playing out in your present and then projecting onto your future. And when you know how to relate to these parts, and all of this ultimately is like how you relate to yourself. So if you can build a really good relationship with yourself, the rest kind of flows through that. That trickles down into everything. But, you know, that takes time, especially if you've been that perfectionist, critical, high achieving type A. Like if I'm not the best, nothing else will do. Like if I'm not the best, I'm failing. If you've been in that a long time, that's the identity you've been practicing. So when you decide, I do want the success, but I want it in a different way. I want it in a way where it feels good to me and like my nervous system, and it feels good. Like I just want to actually enjoy my life and experience my life and experience joy and like peace and things like that, and not be stuck in this rat race of constant like achieving and busyness and productivity. When you decide to change, these guys really come up strongly because they don't want to die. They don't want to be, you know, they've been protecting you this long and they think something bad will happen if you don't listen to me, if you don't do what we did in the past. But that's not true. And that past cycle is actually causing you suffering right now. So it's really important to like learn the skills to be able to do that and learn about the way, change your mindset to the way you relate to the world and yourself. So reach out if you have any questions.
Sorry.